Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Raynday Gaming. My raindrops, what's happening here? It's time to talk about our favorite thing, new champion releases in Paladins. It's the dawn of a new day. It's time, ladies and gentlemen, to lay down the law. That's right, my man LEX is here. The new flanker, LAWMAN as I like to call him and most of the community does, is ready to play, and boy is he as fun as ever. And man, does he have an ultimate. I can't wait to talk to you about what he brings into the realm right here, kind of show off some of the emotes and talk about his legendaries a little bit and take you through each and every one of the abilities that he's got and kind of what his role is going to be, how he's going to dynamically, I think, jump into the meta, how I think he'll be an asset for pro teams, and how I think on a casual level he'll be perceived and played. First off, like I mentioned, LAWMAN is a flanker, which means he's adding a new kind of boost to a category that in the pro meta currently has been a little bit lackluster. Flankers have kind of fallen out with the rise of tanks and supports, and of course because they have less damage, less sustain, and tanks still have decent damage in Paladins, it's been a lot harder for flanks to find their moment. And I think LAWMAN is almost one of the perfect answers to this kind of death ball-y, big, beefy lineup of tanks and supports that we have dominating the pro scene right now. But from a casual perspective, I think he's going to add a lot to the game as well. I think he's going to bring this kind of great early game new player experience that's about, I want to get kills, here's a guy that can do it. I definitely, might die, but at least I'll take someone down with me, and I think LAWMAN has a fantastic kit for that. And let's get right into it. All right, his first skill is called Magnums. That's his left mouse button. These are the weapons he's bringing into the realm. 2 badass Magnums in each hand, each firing back to back and doing about 700 damage per shot. Now, these will have fall off and they are pretty decent to hit. In fact, the pattern of aiming is something I think you got to get used to. The rate of fire for me was something that I felt a little bit harder to adjust to because I'm used to playing Androxus, who has a little bit less damage on the in-hands, but a little bit faster fire rate. And so if you're an Androxus main, this may feel easy for you. For me, it just felt like I needed to practice a little bit more and kind of get used to when I needed to have my crosshair over an opponent. Androxus shoots for 650. This guy shooting for 700 may seem like a very small nudge, but the damage does matter. In fact, it means his headshots are going to be over 1,000 damage, probably around 1,050, I would say. So you got 700 on top of that. That's 1,750-ish damage. And for an 1,800 health champion like a Sky or an Eevee, you're going to be able to finish them off quick. But you won't always need to use your left mouse button and perfect aim to do so. This guy thrives in getting targets low because he's got a right mouse button that is pretty easy in terms of cleaning up kills. Now notice how I said cleaning up kills. I'll get to that in a moment. In Pursuit is his right mouse button. Basically, he starts repeatedly firing his magnums at the nearest target to you with perfect aim. Now, hold on, perfect aim, you won't miss, but let's get as to why. Deals about 1,050 damage or so over about a second and a half, and it automatically will aim towards the target that is nearest you, including deployables. So, barrack turret gets put in front of you, Ying clone, tough luck, kid. You're going to be shooting at those instead of somebody that you wanted behind them. And that's pretty interesting because champions like Inara or Barrack or even Ying, who have deployables they can put down on the ground, can actually help to just body block for you with this ability. Now, it's very strong when you get to the right point of the fight. If you're 1v1ing someone and you start out with this skill, sure, you'll do 1,000 damage, but you'll probably actually lose the 1v1. The key is that this is used as a closer. LAWMAN, a very good flanker because he lacks some of the traditional mobility we've seen flankers have. He's able to secure the kills a little easier when he gets them into that kill zone. The theme with LAWMAN, I think, coming forward that I've recognized is that you have less effective health against him. Maybe he has some strengths and maybe has some weaknesses, but essentially one of his big strengths is that if you get low, he's extremely, extremely dangerous. So you have to watch out. You have to make sure you position well. You have to surround yourself with the right teammates and stay topped off before you take a fight with him because he is much better exponentially as you get lower and lower to 0 health. Now, moving on to his F skill, it is called Combat Slide. Now, for a lot of people, there have been some complaints on flankers such as Sky about not having upwards mobility. Well, LAWMAN enters the realm without that same upwards mobility as well. Of course, if you're going to give somebody a lot of tools to get kills, you at least have to compromise in some aspect, and that's where the combat slide comes in. Now, the cool thing about it is that you basically slide forward in the direction you're facing. You can kind of shoot quickly either before, I'm not even sure if it's during, you might be able to, but right afterwards as well. And it feels very action-oriented, it feels very fun and visceral, and it's actually on a very low cooldown. So he's not going to be flying across the map. He's not going to be blinking across the map. He won't be running at insane speeds, but he will be sliding and being able to duck and dive behind corners, get in and out of hallways, and maybe show up around a bend when you're not expecting it. And because he doesn't have the vertical movement like Androxus or Eevee, he's going to be a lot better, I think, inherently on smaller maps where he can get into the fight and then immediately combat slide and get around a corner and be safe for just a moment. Whereas maps like Stone Keep may be a little difficult for him. We may find that he's the commander of this left side room, or maybe on the upper tower, because he can get in and out of the balconies really quickly. But I feel like open space is where you're going to find him the most weakest, but he's still going to provide a really good purpose, especially when you talk about his ultimate being a huge game changer in Paladins. But before we get to the ultimate, my friends, we've got one more ability, and that is his Q, called Retribution. Now, Retribution is what I think is going to give the replayability to Lawman. The master class Lawmen are going to make themselves known based off of their use of this ability and the way it can impact not only their overall performance in the game, but just being able to secure those flank kills a lot easier. So, Lawman is the law, and because of that, he's always hunting someone down. Retribution is the in-game implementation of that. Basically, what it means is that when you start the game as Lawman, you will have a target. That target is revealed to you whenever it is nearby by a specific amount of units. In fact, there are cards that allow you to see that target even farther away and increase the amount of units you can see them. There's even a legendary that allows you and your entire team to be able to see that person permanently, which is pretty nuts. Killing that target for Lawman grants him additional credits if they're on a kill streak, and those credits continue to expand. The more they're on a kill streak, the more important that target is for Lawman to be able to get maybe half an item, maybe a full item, maybe more than a full item of credits off of just one kill. It's extremely important. A la, Kali's, Mark and Smite, it has the same amount of impact, maybe not in that actual fight, but in the fact that Lawman can start to snowball with his items, gain a little more defense, gain a little bit more movement with Nimble, or go into Chronos for more abilities, all that kind of good stuff to really help. Life Rip, for example, to really help him continue. Now, when you kill that target, you can actually have a randomly new target selected, or you can press Q to select a new target yourself. Say you don't like your target, that player is just way too godlike, but you know there's someone who's really easy to farm and they were on a 6-kill streak. You want to go for them first, you can press Q and it will randomly select a target. You don't know if it's going to land on them, but you're hoping that it will. Enemies that kill you, though, in the process will automatically become your new target. So say you're hunting down that easy one, but then that guy who's on a 20-kill streak kills you, he's going to be your target. He's the one you want to go after. Talking to the designers of the game, they really mentioned that, like I said, this is going to be kind of what differentiates great Lawmen versus average Lawmen, and this is what's going to add to, I think, the value in a competitive side as well. I think you're going to be able to see great Lawmen take advantage of this credit bonus and really put themselves in a great position in the game. Even being an item ahead is going to be important, or if your team loses a round and the enemy team captures an objective, gets 300 extra credits as a result of that, and gets an extra item over most of your teammates, you might be able to stay even. That means you might be able to have a same or an advantage matchup against the person you're trying to kill, and that could lead to you helping to snowball the next fight. It can keep you and your team in the game. This is a pretty exciting one. I'm excited to kind of sink my teeth into this. I haven't really used this much because admittedly I've just gone and shot things when I played Lawman, but I'm really excited to see how this plays in live. All right, it's time. The moment you all have been waiting for. It's his ultimate, the Law. After a charge-up delay, Lawman releases an infallible surge of judgment that executes targets in range at or below 65% health. Targets who are above 65% health will take 600 damage and be slowed for 1 second. It requires line of sight and does not travel through shield. So let's break this thing down. First of all, congratulations, Paladins. You have your first execute in this game. Smite, it took a while, but Thanatos, Alquang, they came. And guess what? So did Khepri. I hate that bug. Now, for a champion that's relatively straightforward and obviously has a lot of implications for being an easier champion for newer players, this ultimate, I think, immediately screams esports value. I feel like Lawman, with this ult, being able to change the dynamic of a team fight when two teams are fighting low, and for him to just end it all for one team is going to be extremely valuable. And, despite the fact that, hey, a lot of people may look at this and say, what? How is that? How am I supposed to counter this? There are still a lot of counter potential options to this ult. Remember he said shields? Well, that just means that a Makoa shield, a Fernando shield, a Barrack shield should be able to block it, even in an R wall, because it requires you being able to see the enemy. Also, the fact that there's a windup means that you can run away, kind of like a Grumpy Bomb. Now, of course, it's not as easy if you have to fight on the point, but that's the same thing with a Grumpy Bomb, right? The more you have to fight on a point, the more you have to stay on an objective because you're contesting it for overtime, etc., etc. Those abilities that control space and really screw with you if you stand in it become much more powerful. And that's where LAWMAN, I think, is going to have the edge. In playtest, this ultimate was definitely a top player. It allowed a lot of people to overcome difficult scenarios because getting 2 or 3 kills onto 65% health targets is a very big swing in a fight. But of course, it's going to require a good LAWMAN, and it's going to require on your end the ability to see him coming, to understand that this is a part of his game plan, and try to bait it and then get around the corner so that he cannot see you. And remember, he's not going to be dark stalking in from the skies. He's not going to be blinking in from just absolutely nowhere and then soaring out. LAWMAN is here to stay if he's in that fight, so you have the opportunity to just kill him. He doesn't have that type of mobility that some of the flankers do, so he's going to have to play a very patient game, and you're going to have to try to not let him. There are counters to this, but I do want to say that I'm very excited that I think just looking at his ult, he's going to get looked at in potential for the competitive scene. We saw Nara kind of get in, and I think the introduction to the community was largely, uneventful, despite her being a really beautifully animated and great character with a lot of great possibilities. I think the buff that she received in this patch was very important. We'll probably have a video talking about that and what that may do for the potential of her in the esports scene. But overall, I just think it's great when new champions come in and shake up the actual competitive meta as well as the casual game. Looking at LAWMAN's legendaries, I think that Heroism, Death Hastens, and Discovery are all interesting choices. Heroism gives you that extra attack speed after you combat slide, which can be very good, especially if you build towards more of a combat slide type LAWMAN. But Death Hastens to me is going to take the cake right now, considering that 40% more damage to targets over 65% health means that you can poke from farther away, you'll have more effective damage for more of the fight, and you'll be able to get them past that crucial threshold, which is when your ultimate takes effect. I think this just synergizes with this kit the most, yet Discovery could have some great potential too. If your target's revealed to you, your teammates can also see it, meaning that somebody, even at the start of a point fight, is going to be revealed and maybe give the entire enemy team's grouping or flanking up to your whole team and just give you basically almost like a permanent Cassie ult for one specific person and help you to really have an advantage in that fight. But that's enough of my speculation. What about yours? I want to hear what you think about his legendaries, about his skills, about his ultimate, about his general approach in the esport that you think is going to take place, and how you're excited to play him when he gets released later on this week. If you want to be a part of early testing, make sure to download the PTS at forums.paladins.com, and it'll give you the download link there to be able to pick him up and play him a little earlier. And if you like this video, please leave a like, comment down below, like I said, your thoughts and impressions, and as always, remember to never give up, never stop gaming, and I'll see you all next time.